Eternal Darkness, an awesome third-person survival horror adventure game on the GameCube. GameCube, you say? Yes, GameCube. It was one of those rare gems that appeared randomly on the Nintendo console. Actually, it was published directly by Nintendo. Surprise! This game was released in 2002, and despite amazing reviews for the game, it was overlooked because, well, there are various possible reasons why no one picked it up. The price of the game fell rapidly after a few months of being released, which often signals a not-so-great game. There was also the notion that because it was on the GameCube, a more child-orientated console, that it didn't fit well with the adult-themed horror game, even though the system had similar games like the Resident Evil series, which sold really well. Despite the game appearing as though it wasn't worth the time, it sure as hell was. The game is amazing and has so many good elements that are absent in most games, like a sanity meter that, if left too low, would start up some crazy shit. Eternal Darkness also has some really heavy influences from H.P. Lovecraft. It's even mentioned in the game itself. And if you know anything about Lovecraft, it's that he loves the fear of the unknown and that humans are just really small, insignificant beings to those who are all-powerful. That's basically this game in a nutshell. The story revolves around a girl named Alexandra Roivas, whose grandfather recently died under unknown conditions in his mansion in Rhode Island. She investigates his murder and comes across a book called the Tome of Eternal Darkness that is bound in human skin and bone. Upon reading the book, she is thrown into the past to a man named Pius Augustus, who later encounters 3 magical artifacts in an underground temple. It is there that the player decides which godlike figure called the Ancients will be plotting to destroy the world. There is a choice of 3 different gods. The first is Chaturga, who is red and relies on brute strength. The second is Xelatath, who is represented by the color green. Her powers focus on the mind and insanity. The last is Ulyaoth, who is blue, and focuses on magic. Pius tries to summon his assigned ancient in order to bring eternal darkness over the world and overpower the 4th ancient already bound on Earth, known as Mantarok, the corpse god. Through different time periods and locations, you control various protagonists to stop the powerful evil, or die trying. Now the story skips time periods often, jumping back and forth from different points in time, but it does so quite well, as it unfolds the history behind the Tome of Eternal Darkness, as each person held onto it at one point and recorded their fate. The story hardly changes when you decide what ancient to side with, when controlling Pius, but just enough to warrant a thought-out decision. It also has a secret ending once you completed the game with each ancient. Woo! Bonus! On to the gameplay. The controls took a bit of time to get used to, especially with shooting weapons, which took time to reload and broke the flow of the gameplay a bit. It made it realistic, but it was annoying after a while, especially when you were surrounded by enemies, and if you were hit during mid-reload, guess what? You probably didn't reload properly. There's also the tricky bit of aiming at different body parts of the enemy. You had a choice to pick their arms, their body, but the head was always the best thing to target. So managing reloading, shooting, and choosing the head of the target, it gets to be a bit much. It's fine if you don't play any other games in between Eternal Darkness, because then you have the controls locked in your brain. Another aspect of the game is magic, which is both fucking awesome and frustrating. To cast magic, you have to have the Tome of Eternal Darkness. Without it, you are a normal person, and being normal sucks. Once you get it, you set runes to form a magic spell, and when you cast it, you have to wait for the runes to appear on the floor. You cannot move at all, or the spell is cancelled and will eat up your magic points. And it takes a while for some spells to finish, so give yourself a shitload of time. This is when magic casting becomes super awesome. As soon as you cast a spell, depending on the ancient you selected for casting, you will hear their voice say the rune names, which is so fucking metal. See? Ulyaoth is fucking sweet. If you prefer a more evil-sounding voice, here's Chaturga saying the same spell. Now, for me, that makes everything better when casting magic. Now, games of this nature are kind of obscure in regards to puzzles, like in Resident Evil games where you need an eagle and wolf metal to open a sewer gate. This game, however, teases you with items that you won't need until the end of the game. The first thing you do in the house, the very first thing you do, is find a dresser key behind a clock in the middle of the first room. From there you think you'll need to find a dresser, right? Wrong. Didn't you know you had to go up to the grandfather clock in the library and turn it to 3:33? Why didn't you know that? Are you stupid? It never gets as obscure and ridiculous as that, but some puzzles get pretty damn close. One of the best things about gameplay is the sanity meter I mentioned earlier. The crazy shit I said is some crazy innovative shit. If your sanity is low, you will hear the unusual voices, such as crying women, crying babies, blood may drip from the walls or the ceiling. But it's the really weird shit that gets people, and they don't happen all the time either, so you're not expecting it. There was one time we were casting a spell, and suddenly the character's head exploded, and the death clip played. After looking at the screen, shocked, it turned out to be a sanity effect. The worst one I've heard is that the game goes into the menu, selects your save data, and proceeds to delete it right in front of your face. I really want that to happen to me.
This isn't really happening!
Speaking of insanity and losing it, the Cthulhu mythos creeps in at so many points in Eternal Darkness. The investigator at the beginning of the game is named Inspector Legrasse. Mantarok looks like a Shoggoth, what with all the eyes covering his body. The fact that the game is set in Rhode Island, the themes of the game revolve around Lovecraftian stories, in that humanity is, all in all, insignificant in the realm of the ancients, using them only to gain access to the world. The music isn't too special in the game, as it is mainly the same type of eerie music you find in survival horror games. The voice acting is really well done, and there are a lot of voices you'll hear and sound oh so familiar, like female Commander Shepard from Mass Effect, or this random fucker from Skyrim who voices her grandfather. The best part for me is still spellcasting, and you'll hear it a lot. All I can say is play this awesome game. If you don't have a GameCube or a Wii, go find a friend who has one and steal it for a few days. That's all you need. If you plan to play this game, save frequently. Not every room, but just remember to save to prevent you from rage quitting. It's a good idea. Enjoy!